Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Season 8 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today I'll be covering top lane Teemo, the Swift Scout.
Never underestimate the power of the Scout's code.
Alright, so let's hop right into this guide by looking at Teemo's pros and his cons. So Teemo's a champion with some very high damage and he stays strong at all stages of the game. I'd say he's probably best in the early game since he is such a lane bully, but in the late game with a really solid blinding shot, he can be also very strong. With his high ability power, he's going to absolutely destroy squishies, and he has a lot of utility as well. One of these is the amazing map control that comes from his ultimate. He can place shrooms all over the place, and they act like little wards. He has some very strong harassment, and that blinding dart I was talking about is pretty much broken. Now for his cons, however, oracles do shut down his shrooms. The enemy team's probably going to buy a bunch against you, sweep out your shrooms whenever they want to go for an objective, and they're going to accomplish nothing. Now Teemo also brings no crowd control. Your shrooms will apply a pretty strong slow whenever they're ran over, but you don't actually have any reliable crowd control. Teemo finally has a global taunt because everybody hates Teemo and you will be getting ganked pretty often. As long as you ward properly and put your shrooms in really solid locations, you should be able to easily run out, however, with your W. For your runes, you want to go for Sorcery and Domination, grabbing Summon Aerie as your keystone. Your attacks and abilities will send Aerie to a target, damaging them and making your abilities hit even harder. You'll then want to go for the ultimate hat because the cooldown will be reduced on your ultimate and it will recharge just a little bit quicker. You'll then want to go for the harassment combo of Absolute Focus and Scorch just so your harassment is a little bit harder to deal with. On the domination side, you'll first want to go for Cheap Shot because anybody that is targeted by your blind or of course the slow from your ultimate will take this increased damage. Then go for Ravenous Hydra so you'll gain some permanent healing from your ability damage, which will of course work great on Teemo. For your first summoner spell, you want to pick up Flash. You're a very squishy champion. It can be used throughout the game to save your life. You can also use it offensively to jump onto a target and delete them with the rest of your kit. In a team fight, you can use it to jump near the AD carry so you can use your blinding dart on them to reduce their damage. For your next summoner spell, you could take Ignite. This will give you some really nice added kill pressure in the early top lane and can get you some easy early kills. Now Teleport, however, is another really good option as well for your second summoner spell. Take this if you plan a split push for a large portion of the game and put pressure on the enemy team. Of course, you also have the option of using it for teleport ganks. Your passive is Guerrilla Warfare, which gives you an invisibility that can also give you bonus attack speed. Teemo gains invisibility if he stands still for 1.5 seconds without acting or being acted upon. He will remain stealth so long as he doesn't move, doesn't act, or is displaced. If within a brush, Teemo gains stealth after 0.75 seconds even while moving and may move freely within its boundaries without breaking stealth. When Teemo breaks stealth, he gains the element of surprise for 3 seconds, granting him between 20 and 80% bonus attack speed. So this here is a pretty solid passive because Teemo can basically be a ward and go anywhere and gain vision of the area. If you're getting ganked, this will also give you an escape since you can stealth in the bush as long as the enemy can't displace you. In team fights, you want to try to get this off at the start if possible because you will get 80% bonus attack speed in the late game and that will really increase your damage. Your Q ability is Blinding Dart, which does a big chunk of damage and also blinds the enemy champion. When activated, Teemo shoots a dart at the target enemy, dealing them magic damage and blinding them for a short duration. This ability has an 80% AP ratio and the blind duration goes from 1.5 to 2.5 based on the rank. So this here is a really strong ability against auto attack based champions because Teemo can duel basically any of them. A well-timed blind will greatly reduce their damage and allow Teemo to easily win that fight. In late game team fights, if Teemo can get this on the enemy AD carry, they're going to be doing no damage for that duration. Now although this is a really strong ability, it's not quite as good as your E ability for harassment, so you do want to max this one second. You do definitely need points in it because of the blind duration. Your W ability is Move Quick, which gives you some really nice movement speed, which is great for kiting and also escaping ganks. Passively, Teemo gains bonus movement speed if he hasn't taken damage from enemy champions or turrets for 5 seconds. When activated, Teemo doubles his bonus movement speed for 3 seconds and prevents it from being disabled by damage for the duration. So the passive part of this ability is fairly strong because as long as you're not getting hit by the enemy champion, you'll be able to easily kite them. You'll have more bonus movement speed. By orb walking properly, most champions won't even be able to get on top of you. Now as for the activation, this is also really solid because if the enemy does manage to hit you, you can activate this, get a bunch of bonus movement speed, and quickly escape from them. It's also great to quickly reposition in a team fight, and if somebody's coming in for a gank, you can activate this for all that bonus movement speed and just run away from them. Your E ability is Toxic Shot, which is your main harassing ability that adds some extra damage onto your autos. Passively, Teemo's basic attacks deal bonus magic damage and poison his target. Poison targets suffer magic damage for 4 seconds with subsequent attacks refreshing the poison's duration. So this here is definitely Teemo's best ability because it will make last hitting a lot easier with that on-hit magic damage, and that refreshing poison duration will also make the harassment really strong as well. Just one auto attack on the enemy champion will do a pretty significant amount of damage. So as I said, you'll definitely want to max this ability first because the harassment is so incredibly strong and last hitting is going to be a lot easier with it as well. When you combine this ability with items like a Gnasher's Tooth, your on-hit damage is going to be pretty nuts and Teemo will output a lot of damage. And finally, your ultimate is Noxious Trap, which acts like mini wards around the map that blow up and do a pretty significant amount of damage to anybody that walks over them. Passively, Teemo stores a Noxious Trap charge periodically up to a maximum of 3 at once. When activated, Teemo tosses a Mushroom Trap on the ground which stealths and arms after 1 second, lasting up to 5 minutes. While armed, mushrooms grant sight around them. Shrooms thrown on top of each other bounce on the previous one a short distance before planting. If an enemy steps on a mushroom, it detonates, poisoning all nearby enemies. So this here is a really strong ability, and it's one of the main reasons everybody hates Teemo. You'll have these toxic traps all over the map, and it will do a lot of damage to anybody that runs over them with a full build, and really trigger your enemies. It also gives Teemo a lot of great map control because you can use this around your lane to make sure you're protected from ganks, and if you're going for dragons or barons, drop these around the area so anybody that moves in to try to stop you will take a lot of damage and be slowed. For your skill order, you first want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then for its really high harassment, you want to max your E ability first, Toxic Shot, because it will do a lot of damage in the lane phase and in later team fights. You'll then want to focus on maxing your Q ability second, Blinding Dart, because it does have a big chunk of damage in Teemo's kit, and of course a scaling blind duration as well, meaning you really need points in the ability. That of course means you want to save your W ability for last, but you do want to point in it at level 3 or 4 so you do have that bonus movement speed, making kiting a little bit easier, and of course a reliable escape. If you're against a very mobile champion in the top lane, you may want more points in this early on, but generally I'll go E and then Q. In the lane phase, you want to focus on getting as many last hits as possible while also harassing the enemy. Your Toxic Shot will make last hitting really easy for you, and it's going to make your poke damage very hard to deal with for most champions out there. Keep in mind that you can also use your Blinding Dart to make the enemy miss last hits and add additional poke damage. When you're finally level 6, your lane phase gets even stronger since you'll have some really nice map control with your Noxious Trap. Place these in river and brush to deal damage and slow the enemy as they try to roam into your lane so you can escape rather easily with your W. Properly placed traps are going to make you insanely hard to gank. In teamfights, you'll first want to try and drop some Noxious Traps around the area if it's possible. This can slow enemies moving into the teamfight, which makes kiting a hell of a lot easier, and it can give you a possible escape route as well in case things do end up going pretty bad for you. Since you're a very squishy target, you'll have to be on the backline so you can safely deal damage from range. Try to get the attack speed bonus from your guerrilla warfare to increase your damage output if you can. You'll then want to try to focus on an enemy carry on the front line instead of a tank if it's possible. Make sure you use your Blinding Dart on an enemy that is reliant on their auto attacks to greatly reduce their damage. Alright, so now I'm going to cover some of your hard matchups, and first up is Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger is going to be pretty hard for you because he does a lot of damage and you don't have the longest range as well, and his turrets can usually hit you. If he can land his grenade ability on you, his turrets are going to have that increased range and destroy you, so dodging it is very important. His Q ability also gives him some really solid poke damage, so that is important to dodge as well. Basically, dodge as much as you can, play a bit more passively, and pick up whatever farm you can. For the next hard matchup, I've got Pantheon. Pantheon is pretty damn hard for Teemo because he will be tossing out his spear over and over again, and since Teemo is rather squishy, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. Blind is not that big of an issue for Pantheon because of both his Q and E ability. You therefore don't want to fight Pantheon too much in the lane unless you are ahead, focus on getting farm, and be a big nuisance in the later game. And for the last hard matchup here, I've got Sion. Sion's going to be pretty annoying for Teemo because if he lands his E ability over and over again, since Teemo is rather squishy, it'll do a lot of damage. He should also be able to keep Teemo out of the brush because of a charged up Q ability. It will destroy Teemo if it does land. Make sure you dodge his E and Qs and then poke him afterwards. Alright, so let's finish this off with the item build, which starts with a Doran's Ring, Health Potion, and a Warding Totem, or if you want to be a little bit more greedy, a Spell Thief's Refillable Potion, and a Warding Totem. I'll usually go for the Doran's Ring myself, but if I feel like the matchup's going to be really easy and I want some extra gold, then I will go for the Spell Thieves. For your core build, you have the Leandries, Gnasher's Tooth, and a Void Staff. These items are going to make your auto attacks hit incredibly strong because of that bonus on-hit damage from the Gnasher's Tooth, and of course your Q ability and your ultimate are going to be destroying the enemies. For your boot options, you have Sork Shoes if you want some magic penetration to increase your damage farther, Ninja Tabbies against high AD teams, and Merc Treads against high AP and CC heavy teams. Now for your item pool, you first of course could go for the Hextech Gunblade if you wanted to add a bit more attack damage as well. This will also increase your sustain and give you a very nice activation, making you an even burstier champion. It's not an item I pick up too much myself, but it's definitely viable. If you then wanted to get a mass amount of AP, you could go for the Rabadon's Death Cap. If you want to be a hard carry and do as much damage as possible, you're going to need this item. For the next item, we have the Morellonomicon. Now this is a great item if you want to add 20% CDR, and also that nice Grievous Wounds if you are against healing abusing champions like Swain or Soraka. Next, since you are an AP champion, you could of course go for the Zonias as well. This is a really nice defensive option because it will have that stasis and can give you a really nice amount of survivability. Then, if you want to be as bursty as possible, you could go for the Lichbane. This will make your next auto attack following an ability do extra damage. Now Teemo already has a ton of damage and this isn't usually necessary, but it can be a pretty fun item to play with. If you're looking to roam around a lot more often, you could get the Luden's Echo. This will be great in that scenario because it will give you some nice extra movement speed and a really nice burst, making your ganks and roams a bit more effective. Then finally, another really solid defensive option would be the Banshee's Veil. This will give you more ability power at the same time, but that defensive shield can give Teemo a lot of survivability if the enemy does struggle at getting it off of him. But either way, for the example full build, I take that core build, some Sork Shoes, and then a Rabadon's Death Cap, and a Zonias. You'll have an absolute ton of ability power with the magic penetration as well, so your Q ability, ultimate, and E are going to be hitting incredibly hard. Of course, if you do get caught in a bad position, you have that activation from the Zonias to give you a nice amount of survivability so your teammates can help you out. And that's everything I've got for Teemo in Season 8. If you guys enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe, and visit my video description below. I have a link to all my social medias, and I do also have a Discord server, so those are a couple you should definitely check out. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it, so take it easy, have a good day, and peace.